Hey guys! Welcome back. Another episode of Potato Land. I suppose is what we're calling it. Hi, and how are you? I realize I've done that joke before. I'm doing, like I always say, as good or worse than you. Moving on. I wanted to talk about a couple things, and it's actually a Friday today, so we're doing this in real time somewhat, as close to live as I can possibly get so far. But you have me getting closer and closer to live. I'm not sure what my stumbling blocks were this week. It was more like holiday weekend, if you know what I mean. But I'll look into it. It's not that I'm that busy. Certainly haven't been doing much with my life. There I go, touching my face again, which should be, body language wise, should be a sign of uncomfortableness. I don't know. Okay, so where do we begin? I want to cover something that I almost got into last week when I recorded an episode on my laptop. And by the way, the lighting must be somewhat miserable. We're doing this in the daytime. And I need to change my curtain color because it's a marigold hue. What was I saying? Something about busy week or something like that. Moving on. And enough of the talk about the set as well. Let's see. But I wanted to get to... Oh, right. I remember. Before I wanted to get to what I wanted to get to, it was only last week, or now maybe the week before, where I'm talking to some guys at the bar, and I have gotten more and more forward with what I believe is socially, scientifically speaking, the best or the number one pickup line in the world. We can get into it. I'm sure I've talked about pickup lines a little bit before, and I don't think I've mentioned this one, mostly because if that is the case, then I would be holding it back a little bit. But I've been getting more and more disappointed with the general public, and in turn getting closer to the tip of the spear faster. And so, when was this? Not last week, but the week before, probably. I can't remember. So anyway, I told these two folk at the bar. I walk in, I start talking to some guys. I told them the best pickup line, or opening line, I should say, is the line that you can use in the most dire of circumstances, which would be, don't let me do too much hand motion here, but which would be something along the lines of you ran into a beautiful girl all by yourself, let's say in the middle of the desert, in an elevator. Uber pool can be one example. I know they're using a new term for that now. But you want to, excuse me, I have a little bit of, you know what, this is actually left over from last week as well. I have a little bit of mucus in the back of my throat, so don't mind the hesitations, please. Yeah, I'm not hesitating because I believe that this is the best stuff in the world, even though it is. Let's say you're walking through the desert, or a woman is approaching. No. Let's say you're sitting in an Uber X-Share, and a beautiful woman enters. It's very important that whether you make initial eye contact or not, that you give each other a bit of thinking moment, time, awkward silence, and that would be timed appropriately depending on the situation. Maybe she's still grabbing her stuff, putting on her seatbelt, and all that. But then you go awkward silence, and then this is what I told the guys. Now, one of them was the more chatty guy, and so I was mostly talking to him, not the guy in the middle of us. And after a bit of awkward, so just the right amount, not too much, not too little, I would say maybe arguably 3-4 seconds or something. Delivered with as much charm as possible, you say something along the lines of, my mom says I should get rejected before breakfast, and in turn, a woman needs to reject someone. You could say, but what do I know? And you go back to your initial staring straight ahead. You have a whole day ahead of you to get to. She has a whole day ahead of her to get to. Sort of vibe with, hopefully you have a smile on your face because you're confident about the line that you just delivered, or the greeting, you might say. Okay, so having said that, so I dropped this on these folk, and then I had the guy in the middle admit to not being super socially outgoing or whatever he said. And what I'm getting at, and which is fine, either way, I suppose. It was just nice, and I suppose of him to come forward with it, meaning, does it really matter? You're at a bar, you know. So, and, you know, you could argue, I don't want to repeat myself or try and pay attention to everything I say, but you could also argue that the person who is struggling the most socially is the bravest one at the bar. Having said that, so then this other guy, the guy I was mostly talking to, he starts writing the line, something in his phone. I confirmed that he was writing it in his phone, and I'm like, after a point of conversation, not to, you know, put too much weight on what he was doing, but I got back to it eventually, maybe a minute or two later. I said, by the way, where's that going? And he said, what, oh, this? No. And then his immediate answer, or sort of sideways diversion, but trying to answer the question indirectly, was he told me he works in the music industry. Okay, so I believe what I got from that was that he wants to throw it into some music video or song or something. I may see it if I'm looking for it one day. He said he manages a music company or record label or something along those lines. I don't even fully remember, but there you have it. So if I stumbled into telling this, what do I want to call him? You know what I mean? This kind of, who later left practically immediately to go to a rave that they both didn't even bother trying to invite me to. Now, the guy in the middle, he kept like his distance somewhat. I suppose it kind of blew up at the bar there, now that I'm thinking about it, when he talked about this rave he had to get to. I ended up going to a certain rave that night. Could have been the same or different one. I don't usually do things, but I did happened to end up going to one by talking to a few boys on the street, if you will. Boys, we're all boys. However, having said that, he didn't invite me, and so it was a weird one. So I don't really love everybody that much. I love everybody equally, and my response was, I leaned on the bar and I was like, oh, well, right after hearing that they were taking off to go to a rave, sort of an immediate departure somewhat. We barely got into anything. They certainly didn't give me as much as I came at them with. in return. So I'm at the bar leaning and I'm going, I mean. And you could say I'm a little bit jealous at the time that they're going to rave and they're not inviting me. But at the same time, are you trying to invite me or fake invite me and have me lean in? So maybe they were trying to give something back. Anyway, the point is, I don't drag on for too long about this, but the point is, if I share that with the general public and the general public wants to make it public in one way or another, I'm sure that's where he was going with that, then I share it with everybody. If I haven't already, I don't look at my past episodes. In fact, what happened, update from last week, real quickly here now, is I selected an entire page to go private of my previous videos, but I didn't select every video. So I got these terrible thumbnails, which I am bound to change on some of my earlier vlog posts. And only those were up during the time, let's say, post-lockdown up until now or whatever. So I clicked that entire page and put them back on public. I'm not embarrassed about this stuff and all the struggles it was coming up with making up a sort of a vlog or something like that. I thought about filming in my car today, by the way, but didn't really necessarily want to. We're almost wrapping up. I wanted to get into some stuff we haven't even gotten into yet, but starting with maybe, how are my armpits? I realize that's a previous segment we were doing. No sweat, doing well. Just took a shower. I shower in hot water. I should probably be sweating a little bit more than that. And I turned off the AC for great sound quality. And I suppose that's not working against me either. What I wanted to get into was, where is our... So I realize trying to be funny during this entire, or at least humorous, during this entire vlog and in every second practically of every vlog post I do, or at least just trying to show that I'm trying, because some of my main influences growing up was the ability to, get to know somebody through laughter or something, or through humor. When I was a kid, I used to make fun of everybody's names. Briefly, at a certain point in my life, I walked around the whole school and I just started trying to throw people's names into a random sentence, or a sentence that I was trying to make sound sequitur or whatever in the moment, to see if I can get them to smile or something. Anyway, having said that, so this was probably around 12 years old, so I realized that comedy is certainly one of my favorite topics. We gotta go. We do gotta go. I almost went over time last week, and I think we're about going over time now. But what I would like to have gotten to was a little talk about Bobby Lee wrestling, Joe Rogan kick fighting their whole lives, or when they were younger, excuse me, and now they have a bit of a clash talking about the comedy scene. It's not a clash, it's just a stalemate. And all I want to do is promise that I'm only going to do this thing until those two come together and do an episode, let's say maybe on each other's podcasts. Once that goes down, comedy history is made. I believe in comedy again, and comedians and everything, and blah-de-de-blah. Okay, I have to go. I mean, you are telling me to go because it's been too long. I had a decent Thanksgiving. Hope you did as well. Glad we could sort of hang out electronically. Thanks for checking it out. Fuck yeah. See you next week.